We're having an adult conversation. A big boy, big girl, big they, big them. We're adults in the room. We're trying to get this country back together, and things got a little crazy, so we're calling in some serious backup. Joining us now, making her Fox Across America debut. This is a big deal for us. She's a superstar congresswoman from the great state of Florida in the 3rd Congressional District. Representative Kat Cammack joins us on the show. Hello.
Well, heck, with an introduction like that, where can we go wrong?
Well, this is the thing. That you're speaking like a person who's never been on the show before. We'll go wrong. You don't worry about nothing.
Don't do me dirty like that.
No, I'll do you good. It's going to be great. I have to ask you this, though. We have this intellectual curiosity on the show in getting to know representatives who come on. We're trying to gain some insight into you and your vibe, and I have to ask, what was the first car that you owned?
Oh, okay. You got to understand, I grew up working class, daughter of a single mother. And so my first car was $250. That's what I paid for.
Hey, nobody likes a show off. Nobody likes a show off. I'm kidding.
I know. It was a teal green Mitsubishi. Gosh, I can't even remember exactly the
Mitsubishi, not an Eclipse, or it was like a Galant or one of those. Was it a 2-door or 4-door?
It was a 2-door with the automatic seatbelt, and I crashed it within the first 4 hours of having my driver's license.
No!
I was so broke that I couldn't afford a new one, so I kind of like duct taped the bumper together, and we made it work.
You, as drivers go, you were literally a one-hit wonder, if you will. Forgive the expression. Wow, that's crazy. Well, long before I started at Fox, I used to drive a taxi in New York City. So I will have you know, this is not a show that looks down upon people who crash into stuff, because we kind of have a storied history of that sort of thing.
You're one of those excellent drivers.
Listen, if you know, what do we always say? If you don't like the way I drive, stay off the sidewalk, that sort of thing. But it's.
Hey, I got to tell you though, I upgraded. I got a Geo Prism not too long after that. We were riding high, baby.
A Geo, yeah. I didn't realize I was dealing with the Sultan of Brunei here. I had no idea there was this kind of wealth on the other end of the phone. The Geo Prism, I forget what it cost. I believe they paid you, didn't they? They were like, just please take this out of here.
This is kind of silly, but I liked the door handles. They were pretty snazzy.
Yeah.
And I could only drive a stick, and someone said, "Oh, you should get an automatic." And I really didn't know what to do with myself if I had that much freedom with my hands. So it was the only car I could find that was a stick at the time.
Oh, that's really funny. I don't mean to compete. I don't mean to show you off. I had an 87 Chrysler LeBaron, and I can tell you, as a single guy, it went from 0 to lonely in 3.2 seconds. There was just no way.
Oh, the jokes write themselves.
Yeah, they do. They do. Well, I want to ask you this. You are, of course, a member of the House Agriculture GOP and, of course, the Homeland GOP committee. What is the deal with all of this hacking that's going on right now? Do we just need better passwords than the word password? What am I missing?
So, this is a really interesting nexus for me, being on both House Ag, but also on Homeland. And, I got my master's from the Naval War College in cyber. And so this has really been a culmination of all my worst fears in a single week. And we look at the cyber attack. We know that it was Russia. We know that it was this cyber gang that is complicit in this ransomware attack. At this point, we don't know the amount. We have been in regular contact with the company pretty much since the attack happened. And the thing that we were really concerned about was that the price of meat, because, JBS, they do not just beef, but they do pork and poultry. And so our concern was that we were going to see an increase of prices in the stores, on the retail side, and a decrease in the price on the hoof. And we're probably going to see a little bit of that, not too much, because thankfully they are back up and running very quickly. They're at 80 to 85% across all three of their processing plants, so markets. So that's good. But what we're seeing is really a bigger problem in that, one, we don't have the cyber warriors necessary to compete against Russia and China and really on the global stage. Two, we have been very lazy in allowing foreign technology to be embedded into our systems and our critical systems.
Yeah.
And 3, we have no game plan. We are operating really from the hip, and there's no deterrence. There's no consequences. These people come in, they, completely riddle our systems with malware, do this game, and because this is a for-profit business, they have to pay because they have clients and customers and shareholders that they have to be responsible to. But we're seeing this in all of our critical infrastructure industries. We saw it with Colonial. We see it now with our food industry. You can anticipate that others will become targets. So us as legislators, it's time now that we have a serious conversation about the role that government is going to play with our private partners who do the job the best. Government could never really compete or compare to what they do, but how can we interface in a way that is allowing the free markets to operate while protecting our critical infrastructure and our critical supply chains and our critical industries? That's where we're at right now, and it's going to take some very tough conversations. And quite frankly, there's not a whole lot of people in Washington that have the backbone necessary to do what needs to be done in this realm.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. And if you're just joining us, Representative Kat Cammack is on the line. She just pulled over her flashy Geo Prism to call us. Wouldn't want you to be distracted and crash that beauty, that collector's item. I think they are going for $7 on eBay right now. I wouldn't want you to miss out on that money, but no.
I'm going to send you an autographed photo of me sitting right outside it.
I'm into that. No, that's a winner. We'll hang it up right here in the studio. But to the point you say of them not having the backbone, so I have one question about that. First and foremost, do they understand the gravity of this threat and they just don't have the backbone, or have they not established the backbone or developed it because they don't quite get the necessity of doing so?
Well, I think that there's, an added advantage of being the youngest Republican woman in Congress right now. So at age 32, I find myself a millennial who's lived in both an analog era and a digital era. So we understand really the systems and the complicated nature of the digital and tech world. Okay. A lot of my colleagues are very much in the analog age. So it's sometimes tougher to explain how it all comes together and why it's so critical and where the vulnerabilities are, where the risks are, because it's just not something that you know. And government tends to chase rather than lead, and we tend to debilitate rather than facilitate. And so that's a shift that we have to make, and it starts with having people elected that really understand the challenges and have the foundational knowledge of what cyber and our tech industry is and what it can be. And then you look at, folks that I had someone suggest to me, well, can't we just, turn around and hack all these people and send them a deadly little worm or, plant some malware? And I said, listen, you're dealing with actors that are really complicit or really being facilitated by the Russian government. No one operates at this level within the Russian space without the government knowing about it. So they are allowing this and condoning this behavior. Now, say we retaliate. Okay, now this becomes a game of checkers versus chess. There are real-world implications that come with an attack in retaliation, and it could very easily spark off a massive conflict and, heaven forbid, a World War III type situation. And you have to ask yourself, are we in a position under this current administration where we could really let loose the men and women who know and have been trained how to fight and let them do their job without the rules of engagement, really go in with decisive victory in mind, not a haphazard or half-assed approach, but really decisive victory and go after it? I don't think so. So as a legislator, I have to be exceptionally careful in what we promote under this current administration, because there are political realities to the legislative and policy actions that we take. But, there's also real political ramifications when we're talking about pushing back and responding in kind. So I think we can be smarter about this. It just requires thoughtful strategy that has been basically beta tested as about 6 ways to Sunday. We basically need to war game this out in our internal systems and figure out what is the best way that we can deter these types of attacks and what consequences are appropriate for these types of attacks. And I think that is a bigger question and a discussion we need to have between the public and private sectors.
Listen, I really do feel for you on that one because, you don't want to be in a cyber war under a president who's still trying to figure out why his VCR is flashing 12 o'clock all day. Yeah.
Well, at least it's right twice a day, right?
Hey, there you go. I wanted to say this too because you're talking about the military and you're talking about getting rid of rules of engagement. On some level, speaking to this reality, are you a little? I don't want to say frightened, but are you a little curious as to this effort being made to recruit on a woke basis? Because I was talking about this myself on TV the other day about the military's woke recruiting videos, and it's not that I want to deny anybody access to fighting for this country if that's something they want to do. But I think that's ultimately supposed to be the recruiting pitch, is that you're fighting for the greatest country in the world. Do you think on some level, our enemies are laughing at us when we prioritize things that they themselves never would?
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at some of the guidance and products that are being pushed, and I say products because, I've seen the book list from the military stand down that we're witnessing right now under General Austin. And this is laughable. And our adversaries are laughing at us. Because let me tell you, the military, when you are in the heat of the battle, it doesn't matter if the person next to you is black, white, Hispanic, Asian. That is your brother. That is your sister. You have their backs and they have yours. And it is not about what color or box you check. It's about the fact that you're an American and you're fighting for freedom here in America, but also you're protecting that flag and what it stands for. And this nonsense, this BS extremism that they have concocted within the military to basically creating a problem that didn't exist. Because it checks a box of, hey, look how cool and woke we are, and this virtue signaling that we're seeing within the military. This is detrimental to the very institutions and structure that we have worked so hard over decades to build. And I think it's very, very dangerous. We're creating a soft military, and a soft military is a soft target. And we are already seeing through the actions of this administration and through a Democrat-led Congress that they are not willing to make the necessary investments to bring us to the standard that we need to be at 100% readiness, ready to go, ready to fight at any given moment on any given sphere. And that could be cyber, that could be a traditional conventional war, be it counterterrorism or counterinsurgency. We are not ready to go. And we have a lot of investing to do, but you know the adage, put your money where your mouth is. They're putting their money into trying to make the military woke. They're not focused on making us the most capable, efficient, deadly military in the world. They are more concerned about the virtue signaling, and that's very, very dangerous for us.
That's such a great point. It's like war is not a place where everybody gets a trophy, and we do.
Exactly.
You can't.
It's ugly. It's horrible.
It is. You can't win a war if you're concerned about hurt feelings. And I appreciate you getting that as a millennial in Congress. People speak ill of your generation, but I have to say you've acquitted yourself well here today.
That's all right. My goal is to really repair the image that millennials were not a bunch of whiny babies that are entitled. There is a group of us that we love this country. We want to work for everything that we have, and we want the best for every single American, regardless of what box you check.
See, there you go. No, I would have a studio audience stand and applaud right now, but I can't have a studio audience or they'd arrest me. But this was still an outstanding get together. We got to do this again, Representative Cammack. I had a lot of fun here today.
Absolutely. You'll have to ask me about some of the old rodeo queen days and stories like that, and mutton busting days. We'll have ourselves a grand old time.
Baby girl, you have no idea where this is headed. We got the car talk out of the way. You've been warned. I know exactly where we'll pick up next time. Thank you for this. This was awesome.
Hey, I appreciate you, and thanks to all the listeners. Remember, it's about equal opportunity, not equal outcome. Y'all have a great week.
Love it. There she goes. Representative Kat Cammack couldn't have been a cooler human being.